The president has been talking about the reopening and that it belongs, this decision ultimately is his and not anyone else's. In fact, he had tweeted this morning. And I feel like he was kind of baited into doing that. I feel like he was, I do. I mean, I feel like he was baited into tweeting this. He had made the statement that he made, and it was just a couple of hours ago, quote, "For the purpose of creating conflict and confusion, some in the fake news media are saying that it is the governor's decision to open up the states and not that of the president of the United States and federal government." And he says, "Let it be fully understood that this is incorrect." He adds, "It is the decision of the president, and for many good reasons. With that being said, the administration and I are working closely with the governors, and this will continue. A decision by me in conjunction with the governors and input from others will be made shortly." So there's a couple of things here. First and foremost, he says his first tweet, he talks about that it's the president of the United States to make this decision. And he kind of a little bit, I think, in my opinion, almost in the second tweet, kind of walks it back a bit. But I tweeted about this a little bit earlier as well, and something that went over the heads of a few people. But he was right out of the get-go to stick to the 10th Amendment, as he was suggesting the administration was putting out their guidelines as to how to deal with this pandemic. And I think he needs to continue to stick to the 10th Amendment when it concerns these guidelines. Now, these weren't mandates. These were simple guidelines, by the way. Because when he does this, I think it showcases the bad governors versus the good ones, and it showcases the bad big government policies versus those policies that are designed to minimize state interference. You know, consider the regulations that stymied testing and the processing of tests. Those were good instances when the president needed to get involved and slash those regulations. But he needs to not, I get, because there's so much misinformation that is purposefully put out there by a media that I think is, in some cases, I question your willingness to keep the public informed during the time of a pandemic, when it seems that you're all too willing to weaponize the public's confusion and also omit because of bias, information that we find valuable, so you can weaponize it against the president. I mean, for crying out loud, what are your priorities? And free people have every right to criticize their free press, and you cannot have a free press without the free people. The position to, look, he wasn't going to tell governors to shut states down. He also can't tell governors to reopen states. There are certain things that he has within his power. And we could sit here and have a discussion about Wickard v. Filburn and all of this stuff. I mean, I'm prepared if anybody wants to go down that rabbit hole. But ultimately, it all comes down to 10th Amendment. If the president didn't mandate that governors shut states down, because that's why they're elected, and for that specific reason, he also can't mandate that they reopen. And I think that should be the consistent model, a 10th Amendment approach to this. And it's important to do that, because what might work well in one state is not going to work well in another state.